Work overload as a retail employee. To begin, I wanted to describe worker stress, which is the physiological and psychological reactions we have to any events that we encounter that are perceived to be threatening in some way. This can be broken down into two categories, which are organizational and individual sources. Organizational sources are derived from the job itself or from the work itself, whereas individual sources are derived from the characteristics that the employees have themselves. Organizational sources of worker stress can then be broken down further into two subcategories, which are work tasks and work roles. Work roles are leaning more towards the various hats that workers have to put on while on the job, whereas work tasks are related more to the job itself. Work overload is a type of work task where the employees experience stress from the job when it is very demanding, demanding in the sense where it requires excessive speed, output or concentration. For my real life work problem, I interviewed my best friend Crystal, who has worked as a sales associate for Bath & Body Works for about 2.5 years now. She was first hired as a seasonal employee and then was promoted to full-time. She has since worked 2 holiday seasons and is currently working there through the global pandemic. In our interview, she described various aspects of work overload that she has experienced, one being physical demands, where the job itself is very physically demanding, where she often has to stay to very early in the morning in order to prepare the store for the following day. She also talks about insufficient breaks since the stores during the holiday seasons get very packed. Additionally, she talked about psychological demands, where she's very mentally and emotionally exhausted from spending so many hours there, and sometimes having conflicts with her managers, conflicts with her workers, or conflicts in her scheduling of work. So that all can lead to some psychological effects. And during this time, she mentioned some safety concerns regarding coronavirus and the fear of contracting the virus while working and then bringing it home to her relatives. Some concepts from our textbook, according to the author Ronald Riggio. He described that work overload is a type of situational stressor where it derives from the work environment or even our own personal lives at times. And he mentioned various research studies that correlated work overload with higher elevated cholesterol and increased heart rate. So not only are our employees experiencing emotional distress from being overworked, but they are biologically experiencing changes. And these changes, if they are too severe, can also lead to worse quality of work and job dissatisfaction. And he also stressed the need for the right amount of work, where too much stress or too little stress will never come up with a desired outcome. One research study that I found was where the author Karatep tested and proposed a model investigating work overload and the relationship between work-family conflict and family-work conflict. In his research, he designed a study based on structural equation modeling. And in this modeling, he used data from 110 questionnaires from hotel managers in Romania. And some of their findings were actually very significant. He found that emotional exhaustion was a mediator between work overload and job performance and job embeddedness. And this meant that employees often displayed worse performance and engagement because of the complete exhaustion they experienced from the job itself. I found this very interesting because I believe that many companies should use this study as a model in how they should create supportive work environments for their employees. By doing this, it helps create a balance between work life and personal life. And in the end, it helps reduce emotional exhaustion overall. Solving the problem, there are various ways, both on the individual basis and on the organizations, that we can improve work overload. On an individual coping strategy basis, There are ways to improve physical and emotional health through eating healthy or exercising that can decrease the symptoms or uh, impacts of work overload. Taking more vacation time off or taking vacation time off in general can also alleviate some of that stress. Lastly, cognitive structuring, where we view the work stressor as a challenge that can better us, can also help to alleviate some of that stress. And lastly, organizational coping strategies. Organizations can use supportive and team-oriented environments as a way to reduce work overload stress. If the employees feel that they are very supported and have a family at their work, then it is less likely that they will experience work overload. Lastly, increasing employee sense of control by either creating meetings where the employees can voice their opinions or establishing an opinion box. Through means like this, employees can feel that they have a voice in their company or their organization or business, and that can in turn reduce the stress from work overload. Thanks for listening.